Hello, welcome to my haunted library. It's Regina. Hope you're all doing well. Wow, it's really balmy out today. I feel like I'm melting a little bit, even though I have the air on. I realize, looking at my camera phone, that my shirt is a bit transparent, but I'm not naked underneath. I think everyone can handle it. So I dressed up a little bit today because I'm going out to lunch with one of my best friends. We're going down to New Hope, which is my hometown. It's a lovely little river town. If you've ever been in the Philadelphia area, or if you ever plan to come to Bucks County, please visit New Hope. It's probably the most famous town along the river, and I live about 20 minutes south now, but that's where I grew up, right outside of New Hope. It's gotten a lot more cosmopolitan since I was a kid, and a lot more expensive. But I'm going to have a nice lunch and get together with her. And I'm feeling so much better from my COVID illness, and I really appreciate all the lovely comments I received and well wishes, and really it means a lot. I'm 100% back to normal, happy to report, and I love it when I don't have to take any medication and I can just use my own immune system to fight off a bad infection like that. So hope everyone is doing well. One thing that has definitely been keeping me cool this week was reading this book, which I finished this morning, Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. This is the second Darcy Coates book I read, and I enjoyed the other one too. I can't remember what it was called, but I will write it here. Also takes place in a very wintry setting, although that book was more of a like a romantic paranormal romance fantasy, and I enjoyed it too. This one almost had like a Dean Koontz suspense slasher vibe going. Really enjoyed it. I have a reading log that I have on my Patreon that I put up where I will go into more detail about what I thought about this book. But yes, 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. My only criticism, well, what I did like about it, let me start with something positive, is I thought it was very suspenseful, real page turner, definitely kept me up at night. I mean, I had to force myself to stop reading it pretty late at night a few times, and a good story, it had me going. Little formulaic as far as like your typical kind of whodunit, isolated location, cast of characters, who's the killer kind of feeling, but it was done well, and her physical descriptions of the setting are really well done. I really got the sense of the atmosphere of being cold. I was with the protagonist the whole time. A little bit of a criticism is it felt kind of long for this type of book. Not that it is long, it's your standard novel length, 375 pages, but it felt slightly padded. I think it could have been like a tight novella where you could read it in like 1 or 2 sittings because you couldn't put it down, if you catch my drift. There was a little bit of, at the end, the typical, the twist got me. Didn't really see that one coming, although a good twist will make you then look back and think, yeah, all the clues were there. That was pretty solid. There was that typical, like, the scene, and this felt like a movie in a lot of ways, the scene where the killer is going on for like 3 or 4 pages explaining how, I'm going to use the pronoun they, not to give it away, but explaining how they did it all, like this is how I did it, as you're waiting for the cavalry to show up kind of thing. So yeah, it had a little bit of that, but hey, this is great, excellent, and it's a great beach read, so I highly recommend it. So what else? Well, I watched the next installment of Lifetime's, I think it's V.C. Andrews' Dawn on Lifetime, where the second book was explored it's like about a movie-length episode. I'm checking to see how many books are in the Cutler series. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe there are 5 episodes planned. This whole series is very good. This is the first, I believe, series, V.C. Andrews series that's only written by Andrew Niederman. Now, maybe it was based on some of V.C. Andrews' notes for this project, but he wrote all of it, and you can really see the ambition in the story. Like, he's really trying to get it right. And I like Andrew Niederman. A lot of people criticize what he's done with this series. Honestly, I don't know how you could really do it any better. I think he was a good choice. Virginia Andrews was gone. If they wanted to keep the legacy going, someone had to do it. Of course, Flowers in the Attic, which is great. And even in the early Castile series, which is probably my favorite series, even over at Flowers in the Attic, some of that stuff is silly and is formulaic. So I think he did an excellent job. And I think the Lifetime movie is doing an excellent job in that it's highly entertaining. I was on the edge of my seat, even though I knew the story, because I had forgotten a lot about it. So it begins with Dawn leaving Cutler Cove. Oh, and I'm going to have a few spoilers here, so if that upsets you, please just don't watch and come back later or something, because I know some people will complain in my comments, oh, you gave it away. Or a lot of times they complain that I get something wrong in the story, which is true because there are a lot of plot twists and a lot of characters, and I might forget something, or I forget a character, but I remember this book pretty well, and I think that the story presented in the Lifetime show does an excellent job following the storyline. Now, as you can see, this book is not that thin. It's very involved, especially the section where Dawn is sent to Virginia, which, watching it last night, I feel like it could have been a separate episode. That felt rushed to me, and that's one of my favorite parts of the book. My favorite parts of the series, because it's so gothic and it's so scary. So Dawn ends up in New York City studying at the Bernhardt School of the Performing Arts, and it kind of feels like, at least the outdoor setting they used in New York, I assume it's New York, it could just be part of California or someplace where they shot it, but it looks like the Juilliard School. So it's a really good school. I loved this whole section because, and I love the actress playing Dawn. I think she's absolutely perfect. She's so sweet and so beautiful. I loved her clothes in this episode. I thought it was great. I love seeing her come to New York and showing independence. It's such a wonderful time. Joe was watching with me, and we were saying what a wonderful time that is in your life if you are privileged enough to go to college and actually to leave your house and start over and make new friends and be free. It's just the best time in the world. Of course, with Dawn, it doesn't last very long. But for that brief period of time, it's lovely. She's a successful student, a singer. We've got Fran Drescher as Agnes, who is a character, and I'm wondering if this was an inspiration for Andrew Niederman, or maybe V.C. Andrews, if she came up with this character. The landlady, or the house mother, they used to call them, in this woman's dormitory for students. There used to be, in New York, these places like the Barbizon Hotel, which I may have mentioned this in my video about the book, I don't remember, but that was always, even when I was a kid, I dreamed of growing up and staying at the Barbizon, which was like an all-women's boarding house for girls in performing arts. It always seemed so glamorous to me. And there's a wonderful old movie from the 1930s with Katharine Hepburn and Ginger Rogers and a lot of other stars. It's all a story about girls, young women, who are breaking into the theater, living in a type of hotel like that. It's more like a boarding house. And there's the eccentric landlady, who's the house mother, who's the Agnes character that Fran Drescher plays, who, she was once on the stage, and she's very dramatic and with her feather boas, and like, when I was doing summer stock in New Haven, blah, 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 always these stories about her years on the stage. And I feel like the Agnes character definitely has that. I just wish that there was more of her in the show. There weren't enough scenes. It just felt like she showed up for a day, shot her scenes, and left. Not to say she wasn't great. I loved how she was laying in her bed with her negligee and her feather boas and her eyelashes. She was funny. She's funny and she looks beautiful. I just wanted more. I wanted more Fran. But once the sleazy Michael Sutton shows up, that takes over the story completely. I thought the actor Joey McIntyre, who's playing Michael Sutton, was good. I thought he was like the right age and the way he played it. Not saying he looks sleazy, nothing against the actor, but he had the right kind of vibe. Although I have to say his clothes were completely wrong. I'm a costume designer. I work in costumes, and I'm also old enough to remember the 70s. And you didn't see like cool guys wearing leisure suits. Even then, let me tell you, even then, it was a bit of a joke. A hip guy in New York that was attracting women would not be wearing a leisure suit. A used car salesman or some, insurance salesman in Ohio, yeah, he would be wearing a leisure suit, a middle-aged guy. I would put him in Levi's jeans, fry boots or cowboy boots, button-down shirt, open. It could be a poly, like a poly print shirt, but open with some kind of necklace, medallion type, and a tweed blazer with the patches or a corduroy blazer, and maybe a different haircut. That would have been his look. That would have been the hip professor at the school. So yeah, I do have an issue with the leisure suit and the corny clothes. It just did not fit the character. But that aside, I thought it was really good. And you see and Joe was watching this with me, and because he didn't know the story, he's like, oh no, she's gonna get with him. I'm like, yeah. Now this was, like today he would have been Me Too'd, like that wouldn't have gone on. But yes, the sleazy professor, there were a lot of guys like that when I was in drama school, let me just put it that way. And he's such a sleazy character. And you see Dawn going down that road, and you want to scream at the book, you want to scream at the TV screen, don't do it. And of course she does. So that part was a lot like the book. The only thing I think I remember from reading the book is that you believe, and this is a spoiler, so just be warned, you believe as a reader that he's actually her father. Unless I read that and that was just read into that and that was my dirty mind making that connection, I believe, and I think they even mention it in the series, but it's just kind of in passing, that her mother had an affair with a musician, one of the musicians who played at the hotel. Let me know in the comments if I'm way off base there, but I'm pretty sure I remembered that. So when I was reading the book, I'm like, oh no, it's not, is that her father? No, this is too much. It's one thing she's got the brothers and Jimmy. I'm even uncomfortable with the Jimmy thing. So she, of course, gets pregnant. We see it coming. And then that wonderful section, and I say wonderful because, it's horrible and painful, but it's dramatically wonderful when she goes to the Meadows. There's that great scene where Lillian Cutler shows up in the hospital room. Again, an incredible acting job by Donna Mills, who looks incredible. That silver hair, I want to know if that's her real hair. It could be a wig. It looks like a really good wig if it is a wig, but it's gorgeous. And they can make wigs look really good now. The whole section at the Meadows is wonderful in the book. It's really painful. I love the character, the Emily character. Of course, we have the religious fanatic again, the punishing grandmother figure, who's even worse than Lillian Cutler. And later we find out more about her, so that's very interesting. And then the Charlotte character, straight out of Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte, which I'm sure was an influence on Andrew Niederman. Wonderful, wonderful character. There's a Grey Gardens kind of vibe going on. It's great. My only complaint about that section in the movie was that it just felt rushed. It felt rushed. It could have been its own section. So Dawn finds out her grandfather is her biological father because her mother had an affair with him earlier, and that is what led to the kidnapping plot. So she ends up inheriting a huge portion of the estate. That twist is very strange and very odd, but we learn more about it in the books that follow. After watching this series, the second part, which I absolutely loved, I thought it was great, made me want to go back and read the entire Cutler series. But I don't think I'm going to do that, not yet anyway, because I have some new books I want to read for the summer and for going into Garb August. So I'm going to start now with the first of the Wildflowers series, which is Misty. Pretty short book, so I should be able to get through that entire series pretty soon. And as I was going through my V.C. Andrews books before doing this video, I thought I've got to reread and do a video on my Sweet Audrina, which is a standalone book by V.C. Andrews, although I think there is an Andrew Niederman follow-up that was written more recently. I have to check my sources on that one, but I've read this one before, but I'm going to read it again. Because I've been in a V.C. Andrews kind of mood now. It's perfect for the summer, and I think I was thinking about Virginia. I lived in Virginia for many years, and one thing I learned about living in the South is the way to deal with the heat in the South, in the U.S., which of course is a lot hotter. I'm sure Richmond, Virginia is very hot today. But one thing I learned from the native Southerners, one way to deal with the heat is just to do everything a lot more slowly. Slow down and you won't feel the heat as much. And if you've ever been to Savannah, which is one of the most beautiful cities in the South, they have all that beautiful shade and benches, and it's very civilized. It's a very civilized way of living. So I guess that's about it. I just wanted to also mention Bookworms. Ooh, caught a little breeze there. That feels nice. You can always use it as a fan. Bookworms is still out. The second issue, although I only have a few of the first issues left. If you want to order one of those, I'm saving a few for the archives, and then once they're gone, they're gone. And I think I have about 15 left. So I'll put the link for both of these in the comments below, and also check out my Bookworms podcast that I do with my friend Dr. J, where we cover writing topics. So let me know if you are watching this Dawn series. I would love to hear your thoughts. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for stopping by my haunted library, and I'll see you soon. Bye!